Hello and welcome to Dice Punks, a tabletop role-playing podcast where we focus on playing full campaigns in less well-known systems. In this episode, at least 5 meatpunks walk out of a bar. The number, of course, depends on whether you count dragons, devils, knave cats, slime clones, or Robert. Hello and welcome. I'm Drew, once again your meaty neighborhood game meatster, that's right, I said it, and joining me are...
I'm Adam, back to play Radagonda once again, self-described polyamorous pansexual nightmare.
I'm Robin, and I'll be playing Viz, and I am utterly unprepared.
As are we all.
I'm Des, and I will be once again playing William Cunningham, who's a normal guy from Vancouver with some magic and a dragon on his shoulders, in what may have been an extended enough interactive hallucination that I might be in a coma by now.
Very well. You'll hear sort of the narrator's view of these characters in a moment, and we'll recap what happened, but let's just set the table real quick. So last time we played Extreme Meatpunks Forever, the game wasn't out yet. Thanks again to the system's authors, Heather Flowers and Aura Belle, along with Ollie over at Sinister Beard Games, for making that happen. Now the game is out, and furthermore... Oh yeah, we love you a whole lot. Now the game is out, and furthermore, we've wrapped our first full campaign here on the old podcast. That would be Nightfall in the Reign and Nobilis systems, as chimeraed by our very own Adam. So this seemed like a perfect time to revisit Meatworld. As I say, I'll recap the events of our previous meaty escapade in just a moment, but if you haven't heard said escapade, you may want to do so before listening to this session, not only because the events of this episode will follow directly from the events of that one, but also because we probably spent more time then than we're likely to now introducing the basic contours of Meatworld. Technology made of flesh and bone and powered by blood, the bright being where the sky used to be, the finer points of metallurgy, meat mechs, the basics. As I said last time out, content warnings are in order for body horror, dysmorphia, dismemberment, political violence, and gore. The setting is a fleshy one, and while our goal is always to tell a story that's honest rather than one that's merely lurid or shocking, shock and luridness may well, in this case, be direct paths to honesty. So, simply, heads up. One last note. As a SAG-AFTRA member on honorable withdrawal, I do want to acknowledge that there is a strike on, and while you may hear scrapes, slices, and things torn asunder, you will never hear us scab. Is what we do on this show writing? Is it acting? Inarguably both, kinda, but at present it exists entirely apart from the system that the WGA and SAG-AFTRA, and by the time you hear this, possibly IATSE and hopefully Equity as well, are fighting to improve. The ever-shrinking number of ever-growing companies will try to slither into the actual play space, mark my words, likely before the strike is over. As capitalism continues to violently implode, there will be uncomfortable gray areas, and as they materialize, we'll face them together. But for now, we feel good about what we're doing and how we're doing it. Tomorrow, we'll see. In any case, and in all circumstances, solidarity forever.
You're here.
Amen.
Players, any questions before we recap the events of our last session?
I have a lot of questions, but...
Did we get anything resembling XP?
That is a very good question. We sort of were treating last time as a probable one-shot, so we didn't really wrangle that stuff. We didn't do the thing that we generally do at the end of a session, or that one would generally do at the end of a session in this system, which was decide whether you'd gotten closer to each other and whether you'd gotten closer to your mechs. That's sort of the big thing that we skipped over. If we'd like to decide that now, we can, or else during the exposition we're about to do.
Yes and yes for me.
Yeah, as to both.
Sounds good to me.
We learned new things about the world as well.
Indeed. So maybe let's go in the same order we introduced ourselves. Rad. Do you feel that you got closer to anyone in the party and also to your mech in the process of the events that are about to be redescribed?
I feel like it probably I'm about as close to my mech as I was going into the initial session. But I feel like it's not unreasonable that I might have gotten closer to Bill. You go by Bill, right?
I go by Bill.
Right, that's what I thought. Making sure, because it's a
yeah.
little confusing.
You're
Intentionally
welcome.
so, yeah. I feel like, we did some work, throughout our previous session to, sort of navigate the occasional awkwardness and clashes of personality there. So that would be my inclination is that I probably got a little closer to Bill.
You know, as you're talking, I gave you, so let's note that. I'd say you're closer to Bill. Let's also note that I gave you a dumb assignment. Let's recap and then I'll ask this question again. Before I say, how do you feel about what happened? Let's establish what happened. How about that, smart guy? So last time we met Rad, Viz, and Bill, 3 meat punks traveling together across the ever-burning scrublands of Calliope. Radaganda is a gothic sort of goth and reluctantly the sometime leader, or at least spokesgoth, of the group. She's been called a polyamorous pansexual nightmare. She brings it up now and then, and not unjustly so. Viz...
And also because she's proud of it.
Also that. I believe there was talk of business cards at one point, but it's probably an empty threat. Probably. Viz, meanwhile, is red. They will yet find their color. The flesh will become one as this body, whatever it is, at last makes common cause with their mech, which is true, and with the devil inside of it, a vestige absorbed, or else abandoned. Bill has a dragon. Bill is from Vancouver.
These are the most salient details, it's true.
After days of their radios putting out nothing but a jammed signal from some fash assholes somewhere, a distress signal broke through. It was Olivia of the Masdita Meatpunks. Apparently Masdita was overrun with weird assholes. Violence hadn't started, but it showed every sign of starting soon. Rad knew Olivia, as it happened. She'd love to tell you sometime about the fash dipshit whose face the two of them once rearranged, and so she readily agreed to come help. Our punks made it to Masdita, where they met Darcy, a 6-foot-tall telepathic tuxedo cat, and Kay, Olivia's fellow meat punk, and then Olivia herself. Kay and Olivia's go-to bar was in a strange state, the patrons and the band all suddenly faceless, and the place sapped of its specificity, its stories, by a ghost, since that's what ghosts eat. This had been due to the mal-influence of the establishment's current bartender, a real piece of shit. Some of his fellow fash there had weasel-like faces, and, as we'd soon learn, mechs to match. For indeed, dear listener, there was a mech fight afoot. This fight went wildly in our punk's favor even before additional backup arrived in the form of Rad's ex Robert. He'd been in town for some conference or other at the Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald Center for Leaning In, but had left when it came to seem less like a conference and more like a cult. In any case, this tussle ended with one weasel fash buried alive, one pounded into a paste, one with its face inverted, and 2 fled into the sea, as well as a cop bisected the easy way, and the bartender bisected the hard way. As identity returned, it was pretty violent, I gotta say.
Pop goes the weasel.
Like bubble wrap. As identity returned to the bar, thanks in no small part to Bill's weird magic shit, our punks, along with Olivia and Kay and Darcy and Rad's ex Robert, as well as the clones of herself Rad had accidentally created after being covered in magician slime, all enjoyed a drink. Viz has, as yet, not found their color. Okay, that's what happened last time.
It should also be noted that Viz has a life coach.
Yeah, we've implied it. There's a dang old devil in Viz's mech / body, and he's a real chill bro. And you'll hear from him soon enough. I have a feeling.
and speaks nomically.
He does it that.
To my everlasting shame, the one thing I require clarification on here is I have I have somehow forgotten Bill's dragon's name.
Smolvarther.
Smolvarther. Thank you.
Should have mentioned that, yes.
Yeah, I really...
The reason that Darcy was not permitted to impart her smell on me.
Mm-hmm, right.
Indeed. Though for the record, Darcy did impart her smell upon Rad. Rad accepted said smell with great enthusiasm.
I like cryptids. So
they like you.
So I think to link up my supposition about having grown closer or not, in various ways. We had some character interactions, especially early on, of Bill getting on Rad's nerves and Rad not handling it especially gracefully. But I think by the end we had gotten to a kind of more smoothly cooperative place that both of us seemed a little happier with. That's the basis for my suggestion that probably that was where I had grown closer to one of my fellow punks was with Bill.
I think that's fair. I should also note, I didn't mean to talk around your actual question, Des, which is there XP in this game? The answer is yes. If everyone agrees that they had a good time during a session, essentially, then XP is awarded. Because we weren't treating this as a campaign, we didn't linger on it last time. But if you all agree that everyone had a good time last time, I would say that
phenomenal.
everybody. Well, thank you for that. Everybody therefore gets 1 XP. But yes, this does require the consent of the the consent of the ungovernable.
Where do we record?
I'll take album titles for 500.
I have encountered similar systems to this where the number of affirmatives relates to the potentially variable amount of XP. So I figured that was sort of where this was going.
Indeed.
I got vaguely distracted for a moment while looking where to put my XP by the fact that under eyes for Viz, I put probably.
Presumably.
Skin optional.
I feel like, yeah. I feel like it absolutely is, if it hasn't come up already, worth noting, all of these character sheets are really fun to read.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
we should share them on
did an excellent job.
Somewhere.
We probably should just share
Quiet
them, yeah.
pocket goth boy, BOI, who avoids the sun because it burns him.
Yeah.
Same.
We spent a fair bit of time reading both from the source book and from
right.
our own character sheets, and I think there was nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I encourage that quite strongly as the game meetster. So, Bill, do you feel you got closer to anybody, or for that matter, farther from anybody, and or your mech during the previous adventure?
Yeah, I am pretty sure that in no previous episode of this episodic narrative hallucination had I encountered combat in my mech. So we've worked together better in that regard now that we have that experience. And I think to some degree, getting on better with Rad was somewhat a function of Rad getting on better with me than me changing much, but there's still the result that we are closer. I think also that Viz and I know each other a bit better where we hadn't really previously. So again, there's the novelty of exposure there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I should note that how close you feel to someone has no necessary relationship whatsoever to how close they feel to you.
Relationships.
Right. They can be, but they needn't be.
Right.
So yeah, if you feel closer, then yeah, reflect your love accordingly.
I mean, I had been at +3 with Rad and am at +1 with Viz.
There we are.
But thus my statement of the love improvement on Rad's side is the diminishing distance there.
All right, Viz, closeness. distance.
Yes. So I am already at 3 with Radaganda, but I feel closer to both of them because they spent time in their mechs. And this pleases me.
Ooh. There it is.
I also feel especially closer to my mech and arguably the life coach within it.
Feel the same.
Okay.
So I will also say, Des, your original actual question was about XP. And yes, there is XP in this game. And no, it is not just as simple as getting some if everyone had a good time. There's other things where if you are rolling well, doing impressive shit, being inventive, etc., you should have been accruing XP last time. You all did spectacularly well last time, but we were sort of driving this thing like we stole it, etc., so we weren't keeping careful track. Rather than stopping the proceedings and having me go tally how much XP you got, I'm going to say you each got 5, which is enough to do a basic improvement. Since this is going to be a short campaign, you can each pick one of those things. Rule 43, or page 43 rather, in the rule book, the source book for anybody following along at home. Yeah, same order? You want to go through and see who's picking what?
Sure, yeah. I think I'll go with raising an attribute by 1 for 5 XP, and I feel like this experience and the intervening time has probably given me better chill, so I'm going to bump that up from 1 to 2.
Sounds good. Viz?
Yes. I am going to go with Mana from Heaven off of the Bright Child playbook, which allows me to ritualistically destroy something important to me. And as a result, sometime over the next few days, an important item or person will appear without explanation.
Have never been so nervous about perceived importance. Sounds good.
Amazing.
All right, Billiam.
I have chosen from another playbook, namely the Airwave, Screams and Teeth and Nails. Whenever I do damage in a way that looks fucking radical, cross off one of the following options, and I can't pick that option again until all the rest have been crossed off as well, and then they all open back up again and gain its benefits. 1. Deal an additional damage. 2. Impress an enemy. They focus on me. 3. Dismay an enemy. They change their plans. Or 4. Roll my next move with advantage.
Excellent. Excellent. I will endeavor to make you need all of these things. So, if there are no other questions, let's get into what is currently going on in the world. Adam, you made a reference to the intervening time. What was that about? Well, dear listener, I've told you the part you already know if you've been listening, but here's what you don't know yet. You see, what was strange, given the number of bisected cops, which was not 0, was that in the following hours and then days, the other shoe never dropped. No one came looking for revenge. There seemed to be no urgent need to skip town. The cops seemed, in fact, to simply be gone. On the 4th day, people started to believe that maybe they weren't coming back. If we have any listeners in Meat World, they might remember the time that the cops in Eris, the city otherwise known as the Golden Apple, all stopped working, with the implied threat to public safety seeming obvious to them, and then everything was fine? This is similar. People have been taking care of each other. There could be a self-selection process here. The ones who were willing to stay were also the ones who were willing to make a go at taking care of each other. There are some problems, though. When the cops disappeared, the other actually useful government functions stopped too, just as suddenly. City Hall is gone? No one seems to be able to agree on where it was, but everyone agrees that it isn't there anymore. There was no power until Olivia and a few others stomped off in a fury and did something to bring it back on. The garbage trucks stopped coming by to unfurl their spiked tongues and lap up the refuse until Kay and the other long-haul truckers took them over, along with the Janus-faced nanopedal fire trucks. And there were unconfirmed reports of a ghost wandering the beach at night, and somehow worse, of Menmoth flying over the girl boss President Reagan-Ronald Center for Leaning in great numbers. Oh, and there's one other strange thing. The conference never ended. Most in Masdita had assumed that the attendees had sealed up the Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald Center for Leaning In and then left it there, like a pharaoh's tomb, never to be disturbed. But on the 5th day, Darcy confirmed that she could hear them all in there, thinking, loudly. They think in irregular, raspy cascades. Their thoughts make less sense all the time, and the less sense they make, the more emphatically their thinkers think them. But, all in all, things could have been a lot worse, and they actually seemed to be getting better. By the 6th day, the police commissioner's seaside mansion was communal housing. Our punks crashed there, and, well, this would be a good time to ask each of our players, what has each of you been up to these past, all in all, 2 weeks? Reverse order, perhaps. Shall we start with Viz?
There was an abundance of garbage, was there?
Briefly, quite an abundance, yes.
I spent time sifting through the garbage for things of a particular color.
Do me a favor and roll figure shit out, if you could.
2d6.
That is a roll plus attention.
Okay.
Yeah, 2d6.
Roll plus attention. So that would be 7 plus 1?
7 plus 1, yeah.
Yes. So 8.
Okay. That's an 8, yes. So yes, so you can ask one question. I would assume that question would be regarding the color, yes?
Yes.
This being Meat World, there's a whole lot of red in all sorts of garbage, all sorts of refuse. Fleshy reds like wounds, deep reds like clots. Nothing is quite right, but several things get close enough that you can feel orbits around you, closing in. Something is going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
I collect those proximal colors, but I do not add them to my hat.
Very good. If you consider the colors together, the overall result is achingly close to what you seek, but there's a piece missing. Billiam, what have you been up to? I'm assuming you didn't go on the trash run.
No. I've been playing tourist and not admitting that I'm wondering whether I'm in a coma.
Fair enough. Could you also roll figure shit out, please? 2d6 plus your attention.
Or that is a 10 on the dice. And
what is your attention? Let's see here. 0. So that is
0,
that is
so
a 10.
10.
So you can ask 2 questions about the state of things. 2 questions that might have occurred to you as you wander around. These can be as useful or as not useful as you.
How does Robert feel about me?
He is smitten, as a matter of fact. He doesn't want to leave your side. In fact, he hasn't unless you've told him explicitly to do so. It's up to you whether you have at any point.
Nah.
Very good. He would have the two of you be inseparable. There's big puppy dog energy. You don't remember when you first met him having an accent, but he extremely does now. He sounds like he's from maybe the north of England. What the change is, whether he forgot to talk normal before or whether he's forgetting to talk abnormal now is not really clear to you. But you've become thick as thieves.
Delightful. So just to entertain for a moment Rad's insistence that this is all real and that I am not, in fact, hallucinating, vividly, episodically, and thematically.
Mm-hmm.
What are the odds of that actually being the case?
The odds that this is all real? It's a complicated question. What is reality, really? I mean, it occurs to you in a terrible moment that you don't know how you know that Vancouver is real either, especially since you've always been able to do things, change what's real to your will. It occurs to you maybe that the god upon whose flesh we hurtle through space could be an evil genius deceiving you. It occurs to you that all you can refuse to doubt is the fact that you're doubting, and that's a really stupid philosophical argument, so you don't take it much further.
Yeah, no, Cartesian doubt is boring. I spend more time with Robert then.
You you put it out of your head.
I love it when the GM goes, "All right, buckle up, we're doing this." The player goes, "Cute boy."
Yeah.
Priorities.
Again, losers, we're doubting the nature of existence.
Honestly, that is the appropriate solution.
Oh, for sure.
There's much to be said. Have you ever mentioned this Cartesian shit to Robert?
Maybe sort of in passing. Just as Rad is convinced this is all real, and like, I'm less sure because Vancouver is Vancouver's normal. And I may as well still, I may possibly be there still and just be dreaming all of this up. At which point, you, pats on shoulder, are a very pleasant part of this dream.
He gets a faraway look and he says, "I don't know what's real, but you're really cute."
Ha! A hit, a palpable hit, but not on the intended target.
I had just taken the rest of my whiskey out of the glass, so this is a bad timing on my part.
I'm glad no electronics were damaged in the process of making this episode. Rad, what have you been up to these past 2 weeks?
In so many words, I've been trying to impress, in priority order, probably, Olivia, Kay, Bill, Viz, everyone else, which probably looks like, daytime of trying to pitch in, kind of organizing and problem solving and whatnot, getting involved even if there's not a whole lot for me to do, moral support if nothing else in solving problems like power and trash, and helping to pitch in where tasks are needed, especially ones that my mech is suited toward, and then evenings and downtime, probably doing an inadvisable amount of drinking, and a equally inadvisable but much more characteristic amount of haha, not serious and less flirting.
Well, let's take these things, if not one at a time, then in some kind of sensible way. So since you're helping out, roll get shit done for me. That is 2d6 plus chill.
All right. And my chill just went up.
Also, I do have one further coda.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
I've been helping out as well, but mostly in wherever magic may be useful, in terms of weird shit that I can just sort of look at and go, no, that's fixed now.
Fair enough.
So possibly I have been trying to get the ghost farther out from town than the beach.
You've never laid eyes on the ghost.
Okay.
The unconfirmed reports have continued, but not escalated. So should you be in its proximity, we'll see what you can or can't do magically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For my get shit done roll, I rolled a 6, which adding my newly 2 chill is an 8. Don't think is particularly wonderful.
I mean, the threshold is between 6 and 7, so...
Yeah, you succeed here. It's just you don't necessarily succeed in a stylish or impressive way, which of course would have been your main priority, so I'm aware
devastating.
Destroyed, unrecoverable. So between 7 and 9, what's supposed to happen technically is that there's a complication to what you're getting done. So I'm going to say that you are on the beach flirting one night when the power goes out again. You're already drunk, but Olivia absolutely wants to get this fixed right away, so you decide to go with her. You stomp over and you find a power substation which wants fixing. Olivia looks at you as though she expects you to know what to do. No. Do you proceed?
Absolutely. In fact, the two things that are happening simultaneously is that the pit of my stomach is descending toward the center of the earth as I realize what I'm about to try to do, and I am turning the swagger up to 11 as I approach the problem. But it probably comes out as more of a weaving stumble.
You touch a transformer and there is a spark. It singes your hand, but only a bit. You will take a status called Slightly Singed Hand. This means that you roll with disadvantage if you're trying to do very fine work in the immediate future. However, whatever you did worked. Okay. The power comes back on. Olivia looks to you very impressed. Her eyes flit for only a moment to your still smoking fingertips. This has worked out. No one was hurt, and it seems that she is as confused as she is impressed, but both not zero.
I am doing my level best to pass off my grimace of pain as a cocky grin.
You do okay. So you're now just hanging out in this house. You can see the Gallic Sea from where you are. Mastida is more beach than anything. The beaches all along the north and east coasts exert a pull on the rest of the city. You don't buy clothes here, you buy beach clothes. You don't buy food, you buy beach food. If you haven't tried the carne asada fries, you owe it to yourself. They're quite carne here in Meat World. The streets amble, betraying no particular plan other than getting people to and then from and then back to the beach. The place is scarred, but in a sleepy way. Like someone who, through conversation, you find has been through some shit, but who shows no outward sign of trauma. They're remarkably resilient, and or they've buried it deep. And just to give you a sense of geography, to the east, back the way that the party came from is Angel City. Go west hugging the coast and you'll soon be at the border of Meat World, the nation, not the continent or the planet. Go south, and it's a dramatic combination of desert and mountains and fire, so much fire, all the way to the northern Rosarks. So, on this particular morning, you are in the former mansion, still a mansion, but formerly belonging to the police commissioner. Folks are just beginning to wake up. Some of the people who sort of come and go, now that this is also a community kitchen, are out and about. And I think maybe this would be a good time for our start of session rolls, which I believe come from both Viz and Billiam.
Indeed. You want to go first, Viz, or shall I?
You can go ahead, because I'm pulling up the skill right now.
All right. So, as a Weird-o'-the-Wisp, one of the moves that I have is Wizard. So that requires that I roll plus chill. So that is a 9 on the dice, and my chill is plus 2. So that's 11 total, meaning I get 2 holds.
Indeed you do.
My options, although I needn't spend them immediately, are for 1 hold, all but one that I will specify. Ask a player a question about their character, which they must answer truthfully.
This one's almost a waste for Bill, since he can compel speech in a certain sense.
Yes.
But that's not to tell you not to do it. Yeah.
Ask the GM a question about an NPC, which they must answer truthfully. Somehow magically get around an obstacle, barrier, or distance with no possible explanation. Or if someone would ambush or get the drop on you, instead know that they're coming with a few seconds to repair. For 2 holds, I may resolve a status of any kind from anyone I can touch, excluding myself.
And you do have 2 to play with, so if you want to hang on to that, which, you know, not hard to picture that coming in handy, but not hard to picture these other ones coming in handy either.
Excellent. So I believe it is time for my roll.
Indeed.
Which is, of course, a result of my meat mech, which has a bedeviled skin crust, meaning that my meat flesh has a goddamn devil inside of it. So at the beginning of the session, I'm going to roll sinew, and on a hit, I get to hold 1. So I can spend that hold to have my devil, I hate using that phrase, my life coach hex another meat mech until the end of the brawl. So, you know, it could have Drew tell me a secret that the pilot is keeping, the meat mech may malfunction for a quick instant, or my personal favorite, the pilot will violently hallucinate something about the environment. And if I get a 10 plus on this roll, my life coach will tell me something that they think is cool.
Hex someone like life coaches do.
Yeah, that's one of their key duties, right?
Absolutely.
Clearly.
Okay. I did not get a 10, and I'm so devastated.
Aw.
But so I
Tragic.
rolled 6. My sinew is +3, so that is a 9.
So that means you take a hold. Is that
I
right?
take a
You pick
hold.
one?
Yep.
Yeah.
I need something
All
to
right,
mark
you're
my
like-
holds with.
Okay. Yes. So your life coach does not impart any particular wisdom, but does sort of give you the brain only equivalent of a friendly good morning. Yeah, it's breakfast time. So things are as normal here, which is to say, cozy but busy. As I say, people come and go. The population of Mastida has shrunk. When all social services stop, some people are understandably a bit freaked out by that. But as I say, a bunch of the people who have stayed think of it as something of an opportunity. In mechanical terms, this means that you now have a crew, one you have a sort of tenuous connection with. The people of Mastida constitute a crew who you can rally to your cause should shit go down. However, if they do not think that whatever you're trying to do is in their interests, there's a series of moves. One is called back scratch that you might have to do to negotiate that stuff with them. This probably doesn't matter until things go down, but just so you know, mechanically, if you're at some point attempting to rally the people to your cause, that's how that would work. Until such time, they come and go as they please. They have a bowl of Kay's chowder. He would hate that I said the R, but what are you going to do? There was no sign of the ghost last night. Darcy, however, looks like she didn't get a whole lot of sleep, so probably the people in the conference center were awfully loud. It is otherwise a normal morning, and this would be the 15th day since the cops disappeared. People are probably split between really thinking they're not coming back and thinking it must be imminent. You're not sure.
That might be... So, this is... I promise, super relevant. Listeners, I am a fully changed person from the last time we played Meatpunks. I got my first tattoo in the interim. So I am an unpredictable, brash, wild child compared to my previous self.
I'm so proud.
Transhumanism unlocked. Yeah.
So
R.I.P. old Adam.
Yeah.
So circumspect, so cautious.
Yeah, he's gone, and now this firebrand is in his place. So the anticlimax I was leading into with that is that in my zeal to be useful and moreover seem to be useful, if there is an anxiety among some of the folks about the other shoe is going to drop, it may be something that I propose of a morning to kind of once I get rid of any lingering effects of the previous night's drinking, like try to put together a couple of people to do just like a little patrol of the perimeter, and pass by the convention center and just kind of like lay eyes on everything and be able to tell everybody like, nah, nothing out there but fire, and no changes at the convention center. And
yeah, fair enough. Convention center would be the place where there are weird people who are presumably alive, and presumably people. I guess we shouldn't assume. The east is probably the most likely angle of approach, since there's a main road from Angel City, and for that matter, MF. Which is, of course, the capital of Meat World, where the Tick Bros all assemble and capitalism thrives. The South is really mostly scrubland. You're less likely to see a cadre of cops from there, more likely to see rat wolves, maybe a very lost murder horse.
Sorry, murder
I
horse?
adore this concept.
Yeah, they're a genetic combination of dogs and horses, which is of course not possible, but back before people knew it wasn't possible, it was therefore possible to do it.
This is really not unusually, half of the things in Meatpunk that remind me of something remind me of Space Funeral, which has a character in it called Head Horse, I believe, which is a headless horse.
Indeed. Yeah, our own Adam would be thrilled to know that murder horses were actually bred for strength and ferocity during the medieval period.
Oh, cool. I was I have to roll things back just a smidge, but because this patrol was initiated by a segue about tattoos, I have to express my disappointment that we were not encouraged to go get inked together. Because that's where I genuinely thought it was going.
That may yet come up.
Okay.
There is a tattoo parlor in town. You have not personally been by.
This would not be big in tattoos.
I was going to say this is a metagame thing, certainly, but I feel like the appropriate point for me to have Rad suggest getting crew tattoos is if and when Viz, you discover the color and can get the tattoo in the color. But like I said, fully. And
on the other hand, walking into to Vancouver and discovering that I have a tattoo would go a very long way towards convincing me that holy shit, that was all real. I have to go apologize to Brad.
On the other hand, probably reasonably easy to convince Bill to get a tattoo in a dream.
Maybe.
This is what one calls a double-edged sword.
Yeah, relative to how difficult it would be to get him to do it
for sure.
At least. Anyway, sidebar
you
over.
Were thinking, an excellent sidebar it was. So you were thinking checking out the convention center specifically might put people's minds at ease. Is that right?
I like that idea.
Yeah, I was figuring I would try to see who wanted to come, swing by the convention center, and then maybe swing by the Eastern Road, and then come back and be like, nothing going on, assuming nothing was going on.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Would I be right in assuming that you're both coming with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rad.
Incidentally, how does Smallvarther feel about Robert?
Suspicious. Protective, perhaps.
Okay.
There was a very small incident. Robert was only very slightly singed. And if anything, he thought it was sweet. He didn't like that shirt anyway, he insists. And he did wear the burned up shirt for a day, thinking that perhaps it was a fetching look and waiting for your approval.
Now, I would never have told Robert this, but definitely his best sartorial choice in the time that I've known him.
Is Robert fad?
No.
He's significantly pastier.
Pastier, non-muscle.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, sort of a
himbo energy.
Yeah, no, himbo energy abounds. No question there. There are many flavors of himbo in this world and every world.
Mm-hmm.
So,
pale twink fad.
Death rides a pale twink fad.
That's a great merch idea.
Wow.
So you head off for the convention center. Robert would have to be convinced very vigorously not to come with you. Kay comes along as well. Do you invite anybody else, or is that enough of a party?
I was gonna say it's probably enough of a party, but I'm never gonna turn down Olivia's company if she's not busy and interested.
She sort of smiles out of the side of her mouth and says, "Well, I mean, if we finally get to kick a few of their asses, can't think of anyone I'd rather kick them with."
Hell yeah, and I mean it's not impossible. That there will finally be something to do.
Well, the lot of you set off. And you make your way through the streets of Mastida. You actually pass right by the tattoo parlor, which does seem to be open and operating. Interestingly, one of Radagonda's slime clones is giving tattoos there. One of the several that remain. There's one that's full size. That one is still, last you checked, tending bar at the Ships and Kraken. But the two smaller ones, one became a musician for the evening at the bar, you recall, and then declared that this was the happiest she would ever be and seemed to sublimate. Just simply disappeared, poofed out of existence.
Well, good for her.
you know, may we all, in some sense. This other one, however, seems to be wielding a tattoo needle, like an actual needle, even though metal is quite rare here in Meat World, that she has to heft over her shoulder in order to apply it to the arms of full-sized people.
That's really adorable.
Appears to be happy as a clam.
Yeah, I couldn't be prouder of my slime clones, and I probably see the one at the bar quite frequently. I imagine we're friends by now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You just seem to get each other for some reason. It's hard to say why. So you press on and you make your way to the Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald Center for Leaning In, the name of which I will say as often as I like, because I'm a mean person. You maybe haven't actually gotten this close to it before. You've sort of let others do the circuit. There hasn't really been a reason to come by until people started getting nervous. There is a statue of Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald, crushing a wincing bureaucrat under her high heel. She does have a strange sort of a weasel mask slung under her arm in this particular case. It seems to have been there for some time. It's pretty lodged in there. In art, the Peanut Gallery in the form of Des just said, "Step on me, Ms. President." Given that this is Ronald Reagan gender swap, that's among the most cursed notions that have ever been put into any medium.
The weasel mask is wedged in there, so we cannot remove it.
You can try.
Can I try?
You can try. Get shit done. Give me a roll.
Okay.
That is, I always forget what that's plus. Is that plus chill?
Are we bemeked in this, or?
Let's say you were bemeked until you began approaching. You wouldn't be able to actually go inside the conference center bemeked. Sure. So, I mean, you could, for example, Viz, try to pluck that mask out with mech strength. That is something that is within the realm of possibility if you have not yet demeked.
That is my personal preference, to do everything within the mech.
Absolutely. Let me actually see really quick. I think if you are in a mech, there is a move that replaces Get Shit Done, or it might only be specifically combat stuff. Give me just a moment. Okay, so there is not, for the record, a move that replaces Get Shit Done. The moves that replace things in mechs are only if you're fighting things. So unless your plan is to outright destroy the mask and the statue with it, if you are simply trying to pluck the mask from out the countenance, the arm of Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald, that is a regular Get Shit Done roll.
And what is that skill?
I believe that is plus chill.
Oh.
Let me double check that real quick.
And we'll go for that. Ooh, nope, I am not successful. I got snake eyes, and then my chill is +2.
You do not remove the mask, but you sort of tear the top off of it. It makes a surprisingly weird sound, as though it wasn't made of paper, but perhaps of flesh. There's a squish to it.
Ooh.
There's also a bit of a smell, as though this flesh mask has been sitting in the sun of a beach town for 2 weeks. Strange. At that sound, the very top of the door to the conference center opens just a skosh, and a head pokes out. You would be forgiven for thinking of this as Nobody Sees the Wizard. A face glowers at you. This face is not weasel-like. Actually, it's a bit owl-like, but there is a bottom half mask, a sort of ninja that is a bit of a weasel countenance. This person has a strange, confusing, chimeric appearance, and they say, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I'm assuming we're all still in mech at this point.
I will turn and say with glowing teeth, "Cleaning."
They, the owl face, the eyes go wide and the head turns in a strangely owlish fashion. They then seem to shake it off and say, "Well, look, maybe it could want replacing. Sure, we've been in here a while, but you can't just fuck with people's stuff like that. Property rights are real important."
Is your mask also made of flesh?
Yeah, I wish. I can't afford the nice one yet.
Disappointing.
But I will.
I'm gonna sort of probably sounding more hesitant than I want to, be like, the statue out here is your property?
Well, no. That's public property, he says with infinite disdain. No, the mask. The mask is the property of the consortium. The Onweaslers own all of the masks. Well, the individual owners own the masks, but we collectively own the collective conscience that drives the masks. So yeah, you're fucking with our property.
But it seems like then the presence of the mask in the statue would have been vandalism.
You really think you're clever, don't you?
No, I just think you're pretty dumb.
The door slams shut. You hear swearing. You hear swearing behind it. The swearing has a strangely owl-like cadence to it, like a screech, as though a field mouse is being dove for behind that door.
At this,
Weirdly enough, it's still kind of cute.
At this, can I attempt to rip the mask again? Because that was tactily delightful to me.
Point of order question, Drew.
Sure.
In this world of meat, are there woodlands in which to be small woodland creatures?
There are, as a matter of fact. Because of the space dust and space debris that has landed on Meat World as it hurtles through space, there are trees, rocks, etc. on the topsoil of the meat. The main thing lacking in Meat World is metal. Metal is quite rare. Most of it in the country of Meat World would be in rust, roughly where Kay is from.
Okay. Also, I am duly horrified by the phrase topsoil of the meat. So congratulations.
I do what I can.
I was gonna say,
Nicole, it's important to
We-
your disquiet is important to us. You will be disquieted in the order in which you brought up the meat.
So there's
I really
trees growing in skin because
Yeah.
topsoil.
Because the meat hasn't showered in long.
Yeah, or shaved.
Yeah, one could argue that Meat World could use a shave, but for supporting human life, it's for the best that it has not. gotten
Also,
one.
shaving is a very personal choice, and Meat World is under no
Mhm.
obligation to shave.
Indeed. No one really knows what Meat World is, but they're pretty sure it's at least semi-sentient and that it's not having a great one in cosmic terms. So being sensitive to its personal ablutive choices is, I think, the right
Yeah,
move.
you grew out those pits, Meat World. I am proud of you.
Oh, natural, indeed. So you go for the mask again. You know what? Roll again. Let's do a get shit done roll.
Yes, that is a natural 9. So 11 with chill +2.
All right, then. So you do this and you look rad in the process. You you grip the remainder of the mask between two bits, and exerting more force than it looks like said bits should be able to, you whip it out dramatically. You crush it between the bits as you do so, such that an arc of tissue and blood spurts in a perfect sort of red rainbow, with quite a few reds, it must be said. You scrutinize them closely. One comes very, very close indeed, and actually one of them is pretty perfect, if you can somehow catch that bit of splatter.
I
You-
attempt to I attempt to move and get underneath that particular splatter so that it graces.
This probably looks quite strange to others, but you catch it perfectly. The spatter gets you full in the mech.
Most excellent.
Additionally, because you rolled so well, someone is impressed, scared, or in awe of what you just did. You choose someone present. That could be a player character, an NPC. This could be, your goal here could be to have them catch feelings for you or to simply be impressed.
Oh, I'm tempted to roll for it,
That's fully up to you.
but my impulse is to say small volume. Because this is the most
They're-
chaotic choice.
There are no wrong answers, but that is probably the most chaotic answer. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that.
Smalvarthur is suitably impressed and actually leaps to lap the other blood bits as they spatter through the air, perhaps to the consternation of Bill. But Smalvarthur does so.
Smalvarthur's happy. Like, this is fine. He's less likely to set Robert on fire.
He flaps in the air a few times. He pointedly does not set Robert on fire, and then he makes eye contact with whatever most looks like eyes on Viz's mech, looking suitably impressed. I don't think you knew that a dragon could look impressed, but he does.
It's not a common expression.
The eyes gaze back.
You didn't think a dragon could blush, because it can't, but you imagine that Smalvarthur does. What does not happen, however, is the conference door does not immediately open. You do hear increased swearing and owl-like screeches, and perhaps weasel-like chittering behind it, though.
This is probably the first time I, in character, have the idea of weaponizing Pop Goes the Weasel against this convention. But I don't have a good mechanism for doing it. I just file the idea away.
Do you express the idea?
Not right this instant, no.
Because it's worth noting, I can do wizard shit.
Duly noted.
Please do it.
I don't know that there are specific mechanics for the magic other than just I can apparently do some of that, but yeah.
The idea is just starting to percolate, shall we say.
Indeed. So the mask is thoroughly destroyed. The statue is not. Although, Girl Boss President Reagan Ronald is thrillingly out of office, of course. As discussed last time. The way remains shut at the moment.
Who owns? So it's public property. What is the public entity that owns, theoretically, the statue?
The statue is probably owned by the same entity which owns the convention center, which is to say the city of Masdita. So possibly right now, no one, since the institutions that make the city a city.
Let's take this shit down.
Yeah. What would be the ramifications of setting it on fire?
Having to deal with a fire. A convention center-sized fire.
But we have access to the fire engines, like...
Plus, there is no city government at the moment, and therefore perhaps this is the most opportune moment to rid the public of that which the public does not approve.
Realistically,
we being that public.
There would be things ensconced in flame that would emit fumes that the meat world may not enjoy or appreciate if we're thinking about it from an ecological perspective.
Oh, I'm only talking about the statue. The conference center may yet be useful.
Oh, okay.
Once appropriately.
We're in our mechs.
You are initiating a system of public housing. I'll also say the statue appears to be some kind of stone. How well it would burn, I'm not so sure. It would smash real good.
Yeah, no, smashing I think is appropriate.
I have to pull up the exact phrasing because it's my favorite. But
please.
Can I use the big bone, what has shrapnel in it, to smash it?
You most certainly can. I will need you, however, to roll smash.
Yes. So I'm rolling with advantage on this smash. You'll have to remind me what I'm rolling with. What stat I roll?
Yeah. You, I was hoping I would stall long enough that I could do that seamlessly, but I could not. You are rolling plus corpus with advantage, so 3 dice take the highest 2.
I swear I had. Hold on, I have to remove. So.
Can I assist
I can use... okay. So my yuck guts ensure that my guts lash out. So the big bone what has shrapnel in it, lest we forget, emerges from my guts and allows me to roll smash using viscera instead of corpus.
That's a good point, yeah.
So
I don't know how I forgot that, specifically the visual, but yes, you were rolling viscera.
So that's a +2 on... so I take the highest 2 dice and then add 2 to that out of these 3.
So as a quick...
I got a
Go
5
ahead.
and a 6, so the highest 2. So I am having too much fun with this. That is 13.
So on a plus 10 roll, this is a little bit interesting because these moves are not designed for you to be fighting inanimate objects.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of the extra things you can do on a really good smash roll is, and I quote, smash something inanimate the fuck up. So, is there something you would like to be collateral damage as you smash this statue potentially? Yes, Rad.
Just as a quick point of order, is Girlbroth's president Reagan Ronald still alive?
Yes. Was removed from office, immediately fell down 5 flights of stairs and was pissed on by a dog. However, is still alive.
Okay. I don't know that this is the role, but I would love it if at some point we could do something so disrespectful that she feels it wherever she is. Carry on.
Yeah. That's fair. I mean, that actually could be how Bill potentially could assist. If you would like to essentially make this a magical attack upon the person whose likeness this lump of stone bears, I think
I would be honored.
How about you also roll smash on the understanding that this is a magical sort of a smash, a spiritual sort of a smash.
Oh, indeed. It is glowing teeth and, just reaching out and touching the statue with one ozone-smelling tentacle.
And then pulling it away before the shrapnel, or the big
Big
shrapnel in
bonus
it.
shrapnel
Yeah.
emerges from my yuck guts gloriously.
So if it's corpus, then I rolled a total of 12.
Total of 12. So that succeeds quite well. Let me just look at what the other things that can happen on a successful roll. So smash an inanimate object the fuck up. Don't get hit. Doesn't matter because it's a statue. Land a hit an enemy about your size like a mech. Set up an opportunity for one of your gang members. Let's call it that. All right. So really quick, Viz, what additional thing do you want to do?
I will,
because you're already... Yeah.
So have you seen those TikToks of people launching the exercise ball at one another with like a chest bump?
I have.
This is the sort of visual that I am going for with my big bone what has shrapnel in it emerging from my yuck guts with like this triumphant of as though the statue itself were the exercise ball. I would like to launch it at the door that was closed rudely upon us.
What happens next is impossible. But it happens. Most of the statue is now a fine powder. It poofs and is in the air and is probably not great for you, but you're too excited to care. The remaining torso and head pangs against the door and makes a noticeable dent in it. You hear the door heave a little bit as though it might give, though it does not immediately. Most impossible of all, the head pings off of the door and flies all the way to the sea. You think, I said that was most impossible of all, but even impossibler, you imagine somewhere that you hear an aging ex-president wince.
I'm
Beautiful.
probably gonna go to give Viz a high five before I remember that we're both still in our mechs and that my mech's hands are not particularly safe to touch. And then awkwardly lower my arm.
Crudely bent crab arm extends right as you lower your arm and then also slowly lowers back into the tangle of limbs.
It's weird how extremely far from normal everyday this game gets, and yet is absolutely reflective of my everyday life.
Small Varther circles overhead with a cry of triumph.
Interestingly, you hear a churn in the sea, as though something didn't like that head appearing. Bubbles, but then they cease. For now.
The damn deep
Meanwhile,
again.
I'm sure it's fine.
Wouldn't worry.
Nothing ominous there.
No. Chekhov just liked putting guns in things. So,
I think this one is more appropriate for if there's a squid on the mantelpiece.
So the door is in bad shape. It looks profoundly openable, though it is not open. The chittering behind it has increased in volume and intensity. You're hearing a wide variety of swear words coming through just barely, but not much else. One strange thing happens, which is that Robert sort of sizzles. His mech emits a sort of a visible plume of very thin smoke, and immediately he disembarks from it. His head is at an odd angle as he walks up to the door and just stares at it.
I'm gonna look at Belle.
I am in the midst of asking, teeth aglow and all, Robert, are you okay?
Oh, I think I'm all right. Did I mention I joined a cult while I was in there? I think I might have forgot to mention they did something to my brain.
Yeah, you did forget to mention that, Robert.
Well, that's the whole thing about having your brain messed with. You tend to forget that you had your brain messed with.
I have, as part of my mech, the nostalgia shake intestine.
I'm going to confess to not remembering this one. Could you please describe that one?
My parenthetical summary is, drinking liquefied bittersweet memories can resolve one status for me per 24 hours.
All right.
Is this something that could be rerouted at, say, Robert, at the cost of him getting a bittersweet memory about me?
That's interesting. Is a brain modification a status? I suppose it is. Whether you can cure it permanently or not remains to be seen, but you could absolutely use this on him. He would receive a bittersweet memory. This would have some kind of effect. Because this is dangerous and or dicey, since brains are a fucky sort of a thing, roll
Sure
get
are.
shit done for me.
Scientific.
Okay. Indeed.
Indeed.
What stat is that? Is that
That is
attention?
Chill.
That is chill.
Chill, okay. That is a 13 on chill.
Okay, that'll do. The smoke that came out of Robert's mech, worryingly, comes out of his ears. It is an absolutely white, extremely thin, very
Oh, there's a new
brief
pope
plume
in
of
his
smoke.
brain.
Point of order, does Meat World have popes?
Unfortunately, Meat World does have popes.
Yeah, that's what it should have known.
That's what he...
You're welcome, everyone.
Meat World has popes in about the way that our world has popes, which is to say that their power is greatly diminished from what it was, but still objectively many orders of magnitude more than what it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps someday we'll do something about that. As for Robert, he falls to his knees for just a moment and then shakes off whatever just happened. He looks at you gratefully. He seems...
This after coming over and consuming some of the intestinal churn throughout.
Indeed, we glossed
William.
over that a little bit. Yeah, and that's not like us to gloss over the most disgusting parts. Yes, he consumes the intestinal churn. This is when the smoke occurs. And if I made it sound like it was just his ears, that's only the white smoke. There's sort of a black smoke that emerges from his mouth as though the Pope has not yet been chosen. So the Schrodinger's Pope exists within Robert's head for the moment. Is the smoke black if they didn't choose? Is that right? Anyway.
I don't remember.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Anyway.
Inside you are two popes.
He looks at you gratefully, but he does not seem, at least for the moment, to be able to speak. This could be because his mouth is full of smoke.
Sure.
So I wouldn't worry too much for the moment. At this, however, the doors fling open. There are about a dozen people there. About half a dozen of them are already mech'd up. The others are just sort of standing on the ground or on the mech's shoulders. All appear weasel-like in one way or another. The owl guy is there as well, looking absolutely livid. And the first thing that owl guy does is he's one of the ones on the shoulder of a mech.
Mm-hmm.
That mech begins to approach the lot of you. And you hear, "What did you do to him?"
I am gonna kind of in my mech step forward and kind of spread my arms out protectively in front of Bill and Robert, particularly be like, "What did you do to him? He's got smoke brain."
We didn't give him smoke brain. We just we plugged him into the chain so that he could. God, you destroyed the statue, which means that he owes us money. So we activated the hive mind and he paid us the theory that he owes us. We pay each other in theory. Therium? Oh my God, you guys don't know anything.
I'm going to look at Olivia and just go, "Is this a fight or..."
This is feeling a lot like a fight, but I'm not sure what about.
So, yeah.
The dangling shape that constitutes my mech's head tilts.
I'm going to turn back to the owl guy and say, "Look, leaving aside whatever the fuck Therium is, what's going on in there?"
Oh my God. The sheer lack of... Have fun being poor. Okay, this is the future. We have created a new model of ownership, right? So we own these faces, these weasel faces, these on-weasel faces, as they're called. Well, technically, we don't own the faces, although we do have the faces. There are faces. We own the hypothetical representation of the face, each one, which is then plugged into the Therium chain. And that serves as a public ledger of ownership.
Okay, while he's talking, I tune out. I look at Olivia and Kay, and I pantomime an uppercut and then shrug.
You get one discontinuous intestinal thumbs up at the same time as I, fully aware that I am, treading on issues of consent, suggest to Robert with glow teeth that he get back in his mech.
He does not respond verbally, and in fact, the smoke has increased, but he seems to be together enough to do so. He appreciates the please, you're somehow sure. You might also notice that the other mechs have begun to approach. Owl Guy has taken the hint and has disappeared behind one of the other mechs, presumably to go get his own. All of the people who were not in mech seem to be dropping off. This leaves you with 6 mechs, all of them weasel-like in one way or another, to your, I believe, 5, right? 6, actually, right? 6 on 6. The 3 of you plus Kay, Olivia, and Robert.
Yeah.
So... A fair fight, but of course there is an entire convention center, presumably full of like-minded weirdos. So
we are officially in a fight then, right?
You are in a fight, and because we glossed over this before, I think I'm going to go back in time and have each of you roll your sinew moves.
Okay.
Since you mech'd up this morning not knowing you were going to fight, but it's now become relevant. Let's maybe start with Rad.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember which of these is my sinew move. What it does. Sorry, it's been a minute.
You're fine, it has.
I am going to... Okay, sinew. When you reveal your sexy thirst-trapped spine to the yawning, pulsing prod spike that marries you to the meat, say your mech's name and roll sinew.
So this is what you did this morning. Presumably you do this about this sensually every morning.
Yeah, no, it's just a sensual thing. I don't know what... how anybody else does it.
As we were wont to say around here, neck meat.
Indeed. All right, so let me roll plus sinew, which is my highest mech attribute. So that's going to be +3. My roll is 8, is 11. And it reads, on a 10+, name someone, even if they aren't present in the brawl. They'll make their way towards it as soon as they can, looking for you. Maybe they even show up immediately with no clear explanation as to why. If they're already there, they're singularly on you and open to, talking.
Was it this move or a different one that created Robert, essentially, manifested him?
I believe it was this move that manifested Robert.
So yeah, there you could have a Crisis of Infinite X's. That's totally possible, but you could also
that
go
would
a
be
different way
really
entirely.
funny.
Now that you've said the phrase Crisis of Infinite X's, I really want that to happen. The person I'm naming for my sinew roll here is an ex that I parted with on amicable terms when we were moving to different locations. Name of Andrew, who is in keeping with my exes who are modeled on singers from goth bands, modeled on Andrew Eldritch from the Sisters of Mercy.
So what happens as people are squaring up is that a familiar voice approaches from the beach. The person who approaches is wearing sunglasses, egg-bald, if I'm remembering how Andrew Eldritch looks, and says, "What the fuck is going on here?" Do you, I'm not sure.
Slowly turn and go, Andrew? Holy shit. It's rad.
It doesn't look rad at all. Oh, rad, as in Radagonda. What the fuck?
Okay, you're gonna have to remind me, what's the UK analog in Meat World?
It's called Ours.
Ours. I thought you were at Ours.
Well, I was until, I was here for a gig, but then it seemed like the whole town shut down, but it shut down in sort of an interesting way. You look like you could use some help. I am going to run away and find my mech.
Hell yeah.
He is already running down the beach in a loping, yet somehow gothy stride. Okay, that was an interesting sinew move. Who's up next? Bill?
When my dark insides glurble over into my dark outsides through silver fey-iron nerve connection, which for me is never severed. Say my mech's name and roll plus sinew.
Do you choose to say your mech's name out loud for the people at home?
They already know it's William Cunningham.
That's true. As to me, it's just funny. I just wanted to make you say.
Yeah, no, it's some of the delightful fuckiness of this character. So that is a 14 on the sinew.
Good God. I gotta look up what happens when you are that successful here. A moment.
It only gives 10 plus, so okay. Unless you feel like there's something cool for being well past boxcars.
What is the 10 plus? Sorry, I'm still looking.
I can transform part of the battlefield into something else. Ocean, lava, weird hologram shit IDK. It lasts that way until the brawl ends.
That's right. This came up last time as well.
It sure did.
So here's what's going to happen. Because you rolled so extraordinarily well, something unexpected is going to happen, but at least initially it will be something unexpected and beneficial.
Cool.
In addition to whatever you choose to do.
Okay. Well, last time burying weasels was useful. So
I'd like to think someone didn't hear the first episode and they're just real lost right now. But yes, please continue.
So I think that I am going to, as Vetinari would say, inhume somebody.
So you're making part of the battlefield be on top rather than under a person? Is that what you're doing here? Or you're simply making it sink into a bowl?
I am making it so that it is a very sudden decline into the earth that is approximately a weasel size plus perhaps their effective reach, so they cannot really avoid the drop.
Sure. Do you target any of these assholes in particular? I haven't been terribly specific, but...
The one on whose shoulder Owlface was.
Okay.
Since they, in my mind, are culpable for Robert's smoke.
Fair. That mech, as far as you can tell, is gone. Drops like a sack of potatoes to fuck knows where. Doesn't mean it's really gone, but it's having a bad time. The one to its left jumps out of the way in sort of a deft manner, almost knocks over the one that it jumps into. The one on its right almost falls in as well, catches itself, is sort of dragging itself back out of the hole for the moment. So won't be able to make much of a move right now, but may not be worse for the wear otherwise.
Cool.
So
Viz?
I have that there brine shine sinew. So when my consciousness merges with that of my mech, I say my mech's name and roll sinew. On a 10+, I can name an NPC and have the bright shine on them. On a 7 through 9, I can name an NPC and have the bright shine on them, but it also shines on me. So, let's roll.
Let's roll.
I have 6, so 3 and 3 plus 3 for sinew, so that's 9. That means that the bright is going to shine on both of us, whoever I name and myself. Here's the catch. So when the bright shines on someone or something, have the GM pick one and say why it happens. So they can roll with advantage or disadvantage. They can take a status. They can disappear and reappear somewhere else. The temperature changes to something unsuitable. They experience minor or major hallucinations, or they leave the area immediately. Bit of a mixed bag there.
A lot could happen here, yes.
I'm just going to go for Hail Mary and name the NPC to the right that almost fell into the hole.
All right, then.
The bright shines on both of us.
It looks for a moment as though the sky will open. It does not. It would be very bad if it did, but it looks as though it will. What pours down is sort of an ASCII halo. 2 ASCII halos, to be specific. One fetters itself to the weasel mech. It floats above, but still somehow looks as though it's not going anywhere, like a shackle. Interestingly, 1 to match goes down upon your head, and you suddenly experience a feeling of terrible oneness. The proper kind of oneness you're seeking, in a way, for your mech feels like your flesh, perhaps more than it has in quite some time, but you also feel a strange oneness with the weasel. He can feel what you can feel, and you can feel what he can feel, for the moment. Use that as you will.
Excellent.
You take a status which is tethered to your enemy. This basically means that if you are trying to do something to the weasel mech to whom you are tethered, you'll roll with disadvantage, since presumably it's difficult to do that to yourself as well. All other effects will negotiate as we go.
Fun.
Does that work? Yeah. All right. So they panic. They begin rushing directly at the lot of you, except for the one who is still pulling himself out of a hole and is also sort of thinking he's Viz. He's having a strange day. And of course, the one at the bottom of the hole. At this exact moment, a mech like an owl, although its bottom half looks more like a weasel, comes screaming out of the door. It seems to be able to fly to some limited capacity, and it goes right for Viz.
So I do have clicky nerves, which means I'm allowed to go first by a split second. And I would like to go ahead and spin that hold.
Sounds good.
So I can... I'm going to fuck up this bird's day.
Good.
So, spin your hold to have your devil hex another meat mech until the end of the brawl. And when they do, choose one. So I want them to violently hallucinate something about the environment, and that is that all of the weasel mechs, except for the one tethered to me, now appear as me.
Interesting. As the owl mech is screaming toward you, this hallucination hits very suddenly, and it turns. Its head turns before its body turns in that wonderful bird way, but the body quickly follows, and it screams at one of the other weasels, which is already in a full run, so it is essentially running at the party with an owl mech pecking at its face. They are both having a bad time, but neither is incapacitated completely. Owl mech is tripping balls. You can hear the owl person on the radio not being thrilled about this fact. Well done. As for the other mechs, they're essentially trying to spread out. The one that would have been heading toward Rad now has an owl on top of it, which does definitely make it less coordinated, but doesn't necessarily make it less dangerous. Its arms are long. And when I say long, I mean almost as long as most mechs are tall.
Mm-hmm.
It reaches out to you from an impossible distance and attempts to scratch at you.
I do not remember precisely what my options are in this case.
So if you don't have a specific move or pulse that prevents you from taking a hit, then you are going to take a hit. That is a move. You roll 2 dice. I think you roll with advantage in this case because of the whole owl thing. 2d6 plus viscera.
All right. Let's see. My viscera is 1, so let me roll with advantage. 6 and a 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10.
There you are. So at plus 10, you can choose to brush it off. However, you must tell the GM how you escape injury. Or you can take a mech status with and then have an advantage on your next roll.
I am going to brush it off here because as its extremely long limbs are coming for me, I and my mech am going to cartwheel out of the way, which of course is the most dangerous thing I can do because all of my limbs end in hatchets. Whatever the exact result is there, to their long limbs, it prevents me from taking direct harm by interposing my hatchets in their path.
I'm really having Street Fighter 2 vibes for these descriptions.
Expound on that.
Yeah.
Dalsim or whatever with the really long arms.
Oh, sure.
That could punch you from across the entire battlefield.
That makes sense.
Is most of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't have Dalsim in mind, nor can it breathe fire, though I will remind the listener, Small Arthur can. But yeah, Dalsim is not entirely incorrect. So Bill, you have got an additional weasel gentleman coming at you.
That weasel is no gentleman.
It's another shirt. We're just cranking him out today, folks.
I don't know about that one. We may owe royalties to the Fallen London folks that Fail Better if we roll with that one.
That's fair enough. I mean, any excuse to interact with them, honestly. This weasel mech is entirely Janus-faced, more face than limb. There are no less than 6 weasel faces on a quickly rotating head. The arms, too, seem to be covered in faces. You think you catch an owl, but there are other animals as well. This person clearly has trend-chased a whole bunch of animal visages, probably has been in this group for quite some time. So many mouths are snapping at you as it approaches.
Is this a declaration that it is hitting me?
It is hitting you if you do not have a specific way to Magic the Gathering your way out of taking a hit.
I have excellent seasoning. Which is to say, describe how tough I look to ignore the first hit in each session. And I think I just slam together 2 of the Florentine or shield tentacles. And just sort of push it off.
I love that you bumped the mic while you were Sailor Mooning that description. I really appreciate that. So that does in fact happen. It breaks one of its many teeth on your Florentine. This doesn't necessarily put it out of capacity or anything, but it's it pings in an unhappy way. Now, this takes care of, by my count, 4 of the 7 mechs that we'd mentioned. There were an initial 6 plus the owl who appeared afterwards. One is at the bottom of a hole. One is struggling to get out of a hole. We have the running and owl one. We have the face one. So actually that takes care of 5. There are 2 remaining ones who have gone straight for Kay, Olivia, and Robert. Luckily, that's 2 on 3. You know what? The GM does not roll in this system. That's why I put my dice away. So I will just tell you what happens. Mm-hmm. Robert is still smoking. It doesn't seem to be bothering him. He seems to be functioning okay. He's taken a few good swings and gotten a few good licks in. Kay, for his part, takes one on the chin. Does get a status that is dazed due to a fist from a weasel mech connecting with his face, but he, if anything, is more angry and therefore more effective. Yeah, fuck you, he says. Fucking weaslers. It takes you a moment to realize he probably said weasler. Olivia, for her part, realizes that they probably have things well in hand, attempts to kick the leg out from the one that just swung at Kay, and does so pretty effectively. The brawl counter is now, I'm going to say, at +1. This is going well.
Excellent.
Reminder that you can, since we haven't done this in a while, you can do a finish them move, which is a roll plus brawl at any time to try and outright kill someone. Mm-hmm. The brawl counter can go as high as 3. You can try this, or as low as -3. You can try this at any time, but obviously the higher the counter, the better the odds.
And if I'm not mistaken, the mech move smash would be the way that I would try to go on the offensive?
Correct, yes. And by the way, anything you can do out of your mech, you can do here just with mech attributes. I actually should have been making Viz roll nerve instead of chill, for example, smashing up the statue. Doesn't matter too much. But yeah, smash explicitly replaces fuck around and find out. But you could still do non-combat stuff if you want to, for example, set somebody else for something, set a trap, what have you. Sure. If you're just looking to fight, then smash is your move.
Yeah, I'm looking to fight. I'm specifically looking to fight the mech that rattled Kay.
Okay. Well, roll smash for me.
I will do. What is that?
That is 2 dice plus corpus.
I thought so. Corpus is -1 for me. It's okay. It's all right. It's fine.
Should be fine.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's fine. It's all fine. That is 9 - 1 is 8.
9 - 1 is 8. All right. So 7 to 9, you hold 2. Therefore, let's see. Sorry, my apologies for lawyering the rules over here.
You're good.
As a lawyer, rules are meant to be lawyered, but not to the detriment of fun in cases where it's not a matter of court.
Here. So you can do 2 of the things from this list. You can smash something and animate the fuck up. You can not get hit. You can land a hit on an enemy about your size, such as a mech. You can set up an opportunity for one of your well, it says gang members, but let's say party members as well. Or you can kill something weaker than a mech. There are no just peeploids running around at the moment. But yeah, you can pick any of those 2 things to be part of this move.
All right, so I feel like if I'm remembering your list there correctly, the way to go would be to smash one of the mechs and I guess the way I would put it is run interference for Kay.
Sure.
Sort of for the next little bit here.
Yeah, I like it.
Excellent.
So you do you want to describe to me how you do that?
I would love to. So I think what happens here is, I announced my mech's name in the previous episode, Violent Dancer. And as a brief refresher, Violent Dancer has the arms and legs on the mech are identical. Has 1,000 fingers and hatchet limbs, and moves kind of uncannily, with using arms and legs kind of interchangeably, and they're kind of all too long. So I think what happens here is that I sort of cartwheel into the mech that was attacking Kay with my hatchet limbs going, and then sort of take up a position in front of and just to one side of Kay's mech, where my disconcerting too long hatchet limbs are posing a problem to anyone attempting to follow up on the initial offensive success against Kay's mech.
First and most importantly, Olivia sees this and is impressed.
Fuck yeah.
All but incidentally, as you approach in this cartwheel of axes, the mech, which has relatively conventional humanish hands, raises one to stop you and loses 3 fingers on it. 3 of 8, I should say, but still very helpful. On the second cartwheel, it loses the thumb on the other hand. So this is not great for it. Kay, for his part, kicks it full in the face, and the thing falls over. So this thing is doing bad. And again, more importantly, Olivia thinks you're cool.
Day made, whatever else happens.
I'd let her kill me. Okay, so
maybe have? It's not clear.
Not clear. Very good then. Okay. I have lost where we are in the sequence. I think we're back on your moves, yeah? So
I was I think the first never mind.
First of this round, I think is that what happened? I believe it was.
Quite possible.
Yeah,
I think Viz, you're up. Is that right?
Yeah,
and technically, because you have clicky nerves, you actually should have gone first. So if you're involved in that same weasel, we'll make it make sense somehow. But if not, tell me.
I will avoid that weasel for clarity. Who is going after Billiam, and are they close enough for me to smash?
Yes. So that would be the mech with more faces than anything else. It has pinged off in a bad bone crunching sound, but is probably about to go back for Billiam.
Okay.
So if you take, let's say, 3 or 4 good strides, you'll be within smashing range of that thing. You'd potentially be exposing yourself to somebody coming at you from behind. But cross that bridge when we come to it.
So very, very quickly, not to interrupt Robin's turn here or anything, but I remember having trouble with this in our first episode, the brawl counter.
Yes.
How does that increase?
Somewhat arbitrarily when stuff happens that means things are going in your favor.
Okay.
And, thanks for bringing it up. I would say it is currently at +2.
Okay.
It is universal across all of you, however, since it's just sort of a measure of how the fight is going. So any of you can take advantage of it. If you make an outright kill, then it goes back to 0.
Sure. And that was why I was asking, because I figured perhaps my action had increased it. So
no, good call. Sorry for not saying that. I thought it, but I didn't say it because I am...
If Robin's action
it's all good.
Sets things up, then I may take the opportunity.
Sure, I didn't mean to interrupt your turn, Robin. I just remembered the brawl counter and that it may factor into your decision.
I mean, it's at +2, so if Robin wanted to do something lethal, it wouldn't be a terrible time.
Yeah.
But if you want to play it safe and get it to 3, that's a valid approach as well.
Yep. So back to you. Apologies for the interruption.
Des, did you say that you may take the opportunity depending on...
I mean, you are in turn priority, so you obviously have the temporal option first. But if you instead just set things up, then I may knock them down.
Well, I'm happy to set them up if you knock them down, being aware that I'm leaving my back open for this.
Oh, yes.
I will proceed with the smashing. And as before, due to... I can't remember whether it was my yuck guts or... Oh, yes, my yuck guts. My guts are lashing out with the big bone, what has shrapnel in it. So I'm rolling with advantage.
Every fucking time.
On my
continue.
smash.
This gives a slightly different spin on IBS.
Which I get to use sinew for +3. +3 in this case might be weirdly accurate now that I say it out loud.
Might be at that.
And it's a good thing I did that, because that will bring me to a one of them was a 1, so I'm putting that die aside for the 3 and the 4. Which +3 brings me to a solid 10 for smash.
Excellent. So at +10, you can hold 3 from that list. So you could outright kill something weaker than mech. Again, that's not present. But you could also do that other stuff. You could avoid getting hit in turn, smash up something inanimate, etc. Land a solid hit on something. Set an opponent up for something spectacular. So yeah, describe to me how you go after this many-faced monstrosity.
I've been having fun with this exercise ball volleying. So all of the aborted carcinization limbs launch myself forward as the big bone has shrapnel in it thrust from my
This is marvelously upsetting, Robin.
And absolutely smashes this hapless meat mech.
Do you spend one of your holds on not getting hit in turn?
I do spend one of my holds on not getting hit in turn.
Okay,
and you said
that's important because
hold 3?
Yeah, you have hold 3, so you could add one more bit of spice to this gumbo.
I mean, what were my other options with that? I should have it on my screen.
You could set
Something
an opponent
inanimate.
up. You could set up an opportunity, right? So someone else could roll with advantage next time if you want. Or you could kill something weaker than a mech. Again, nothing is in evidence quite like that. Smash up an inanimate object. Yeah, those are the lists. You're also welcome to get creative. If it's too far, I'll tell you.
So I will do my best to imbalance this mech with this just obscenely disturbing smash to set up Billiam for success.
Very good. Very good. What you smash off is many, many faces in the form of a limb. Similar to the statue, it pings impossibly off of one of the other mechs, which is stunned, but perhaps otherwise unhurt. But again, the arm, again impossibly, goes all the way to the ocean. This is deeply disheartening to all concerned. You don't actually hear a splash, but you'll deal with that later. This thing is fucked. Its arm is off. It's in a tremendous amount of pain. It falls to its knees, and it would be easy prey for Billiam. I'm going to say the brawl counter's at +3.
So I think that I do definitely appreciate the protective strike there. It does set me up in other ways, namely to in turn take the attention off of Robert. And so I strike out against the mech that has gone up against him. And do I roll with plus brawl or plus corpus if I am aiming for a fatality on that order?
That is plus brawl if you're aiming for a fatality.
Cool. So that is a 9 becomes an 11 for the corpus on that.
I do believe that'll do. This move, by the way, is called Finish Them for anyone who recalls. I'm sorry, you said it becomes an 11?
Yes.
All right.
So if you rolled a 9, wouldn't it be a 12? Didn't the brawl counter go up to 3?
That's why I was asking if it was just the general mech attribute or if I was using the +3 from the brawl counter.
You were using the +3 from the brawl counter.
Okay, so yes, it would become a 12.
Apologies for not being clear there. Okay, so on a 12 plus, not only do you kill this thing, but you'll be pivoting straight into another attack. So describe how you kill the many-faced thing and tell me what you do next while looking very cool.
So I strike out with tentacles fighting Florentine rather than all brought together as a shield. And what I do is they are inserted into the holes that Viz's hit created, and I rip it apart, and then I use them as weapons.
Yeah,
and I
that's amazing.
Bring to bear the former weasel bits onto the back of the mech that is harassing Robert.
The mech that is harassing Robert is deeply disturbed by this, and you have essentially acquired a dual-wielding build, which I will call 1,000 snapping katanas.
Also, does this invoke screams and teeth and nails?
Let's say it does.
So, instead of dealing an additional damage on this second attack, I will impress them so they will focus instead on me.
Ooh, very good.
But also separately for the holds on that, I will not get hit in return. And ping the remainder of the destroyed weasel at the mech that is teetering on the edge of the hole I created, in hopes of at last sending them into it.
Yeah, that sounds good. That weasel, which had just about climbed out, goes back about to where it was and then slips a little further and is now hanging on cartoonishly by a single weasel-like claw. Wile E. Coyote would want to step on the fingers one by one.
Right.
So would Viz, frankly.
And soon might have the opportunity.
Sure.
Much is going well. There are a few problems, though. For one thing, the halo above Viz's head pulses. This guy who's now almost fallen in is terrified. And you can feel his terror. This does not mean you're terrified, but the body keeps score, and yours is keeping a score of absolute terror. I mean your true body. I mean your mech.
The mech is
in mechanical
terror.
terms. The mech is terror. In mechanical terms, your mech is spooked. This does not in any way impact your ability to deal violence, but it means that you will roll with disadvantage if you try to do a finishing move, because the fear of death is profound in your mech flesh.
Oh, damn. Okay.
This also means that the same is true for him. He's very afraid, and he couldn't kill someone. I mean, he can barely not fall into a hole. I wouldn't worry about that too much, but the fact remains. And it perhaps occurs to you what it might feel like if he were to fall into the hole. Not great, probably.
So I will not Wile E. Coyote step on his fingers.
That is still your prerogative, and the sensation might be an interesting and instructive one, but it wouldn't be pleasant.
If we're targeting my not true flesh, that would have been one thing, but it is targeting my mech.
So that's happening. The other thing that's happening is all of a sudden, Robert sort of gets yanked out of frame, as it were. Fully inmeched, smoke still billowing, around a corner, behind a building. He makes sort of a nyeh noise, which is the most you've heard him say, so maybe that's good, actually, but he is gone. The mech that is being harried by the owl mech is still running sort of full around and not doing especially well. There's no sign of the one at the bottom of the hole. But that's the situation otherwise. Kay and Olivia seem to be pretty full up. One mech is fully dead, one is fully disappeared, one is hanging on for dear life. Two are tussling as much with each other as with you, and Robert seems to have been yoinked away in some fashion.
Yes, the yoink. The opposite directionality of the yoke. Tell
There's
me
a number
I'm wrong.
line with yoink on one end and yote
The
on the
X
other.
and Y axes of momentum.
That's true. They could be simultaneous. That's a good point. Yeah. As yeet increases, so does yoink. This is the political alignment chart we actually
have
made.
yeet, yote, and yoink.
So here's where you're at. The fight's very much in your favor, but shit is getting weird. It would be the summary.
Sure. My inclination is to let Bill worry about Robert, because it would be weird if I did.
Yep.
So I guess probably my inclination would be to attack the mechs that are having the least trouble, independent of my actions.
Sure. There's passing few of those at this point.
True. Like 2, maybe.
I actually need to keep count. Yeah, there's actually, I believe there is one mech that is essentially unharried. And
Well-
actually, that's not even true. There are the two harried mechs. There's the one at the bottom of the hole. There is the one almost at the bottom of the hole. There is the dead one. No, you're right. There is one mech unaccounted for. Yes. So let us say that that mech is still more or less in front of the doorway. And in fact, you see a great many more faces, mech-sized and person-sized, behind it, as though they were about to join the fray and are now thinking better of it. In the darkness of the convention center, its door ripped open. Some of them recede. But this one not only stands its ground, it approaches. And when I say that it approaches, I mean that it does so with a furious abandon. And when I say that it does so with a furious abandon, this is manifested by a spinning of bone blades from what should be its arms.
Excellent.
In a sort of a Blender Cuisinart fashion. One has to respect the sheer lethality of the
General
look of the
Grievous
thing.
of it?
I'm sorry?
The sheer General Grievous of it?
The sheer one must respect the General Grievous of the whole thing.
This keeps
Uh,
getting better.
This bone blender is charging toward the general fray.
I don't know.
It'll be a moment before it arrives at you, I should say.
Sure, I don't know what the order of actions is generally in the system or currently at this one moment, but my intention is to violently intercept this one in hopes of spooking the ones that maybe are behind it, considering whether or not to jump in.
Seems reasonable. Now, in terms of order of
I believe
operations,
the general rule is Viz first.
yeah, indeed. This
Sure,
thing's
sure.
move was to spin up the Grievous bones.
Okay.
And to charge. Of your moves, Viz would go first due to clicky nerves.
Very well. Clicky nerves. I defer to them.
A wise woman. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, I will leave you to intercept Spinny Bones since you're the bony blender, as it were. Which leaves me to they're the two that are kind of intermingled right now, right?
Mhm. Yeah, the owl one is still harrying the other one.
I will
Because it thinks it's you. If you approach it, it might think there are two of you, and who knows what that looks like.
Okay. That is a valid point. So my options are Bone Blender, doubling down on the owl, which has risks because then like both of them would think I'm me, or sending myself into a hole.
You've summed it up quite well.
Fear, even though it's being experienced through the true flesh, still feels like a weakness of the old flesh, the light that I send out from the angler fish that I am. And I confer with my life coach as I slowly stride, scuttle, crick, wetly creak over to the hole that I am correct in this thinking.
If one tolerates intolerance, the intolerant will not be destroyed. This is intolerable.
I'm going to Wile E. Coyote the hand.
Amazing.
My hand still clinging to the hole because fear of death is clearly a weakness of the untrue, and that is blasphemy in the eyes of the bright, the true color, that which I seek.
So when you say you Wile E. Coyote, do you do this one finger at a time?
Yes.
On the first finger, a profound fear shoots through you, and your life coach says, fear is an illusion. Bravery is an illusion. Illusion is quite real. On the second finger, the mech looks up at you and pleads, not with words, but with its eyes. And you feel yourself pleading to yourself, which is a strange sensation. And your life coach says, shall be as one, this true flesh and these converging wills. On the third finger, something very much just like the actual fear of death shoots through you. Could you, for me, roll get shit done? The shit you're getting done is confronting a fear of death. And you're going to do plus nerve on a 2 dice roll.
Okay.
I'm going to say with disadvantage because overcoming fear of death is not a trivial activity.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Whew. My nerve is -1. So I got a 2. I'm removing the 6 from the pool. I have a 2 and a 1.
You continue, but you do not become less afraid of death. Whatever flesh, real or imagined, you ascribe it to, whether this is the end of the anglerfish or the fish itself, this is now in every part of you. This is a fear you're going to carry with you past this experience. You take a status where you're going to roll with disadvantage when your flesh, true or fake, feels threatened for some time. We're going to call this twice shy.
Okay.
However, you
Good
don't
name.
stop. Thank you. On the 4th finger, your life coach says, cannot know the will of the God upon whose dying, sundered, wandering flesh our world has taken root, cannot know whether there is a why. Best, then, not to worry about it. And you step on the 5th finger. And this mech goes screaming into what seems to be an infinite and an absolute darkness. But before it reaches that absolute darkness, it bangs against the side of this newly created, freshly created, semi-freshly created concrete hole. Its head smashes against it, the halo shatters, and there is a spatter of perfect red.
Beautiful.
I like that I can apparently, create bottomless pits into the flesh world. Apparently further lined with concrete.
You have never heard anything hit bottom. For all you know, they could be bottomless and these things could be falling into the vacuum of space.
I love this.
But you don't know. You'd have to go in to find out.
Right, and no.
It's going to be real sticky down there, for one thing. Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Viz, that was an interesting experience for all concerned. I forget, there is no particular order for who goes next, yeah? So Rad, Bill?
I mean, I was moving to try and put the fear into the mech that looked most willing to join the fray from within the convention center.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that goes
by
now
all means,
or
go
not.
ahead.
All right. Sure.
No, jump in. So go ahead and roll smash. If in fact your goal is to attack rather than merely intimidate.
I figured attacking would be the best way to intimidate.
I will say as well, after the rather profound experience Viz just had, the brawl counter is back to +1.
Okay. Yeah, probably not good enough for me to want to use it. So, we'll roll with my, is that Corpus at -1, I think?
Yes.
For Smash? Yeah. Let's see. Maybe I make a fun fool out of myself. Rolled a 6 and a 1 for 7, which is a 6 for my Smash roll, which I believe is below the threshold for success.
Yeah, you do not get any holds there. So what happened? Well, how would you attack a spinning Cuisinart blender thing?
So I think my approach here would be to put my own spin on it, if you'll allow me to play on words. And,
I'll allow it.
Beautiful.
Grudgingly.
So they're doing this spinning Cuisinart thing, and so I build up some speed, and then I start pirouetting on one limb, since legs and arms are kind of equivalent on Violent Dancer, and put my other 3 hatchet limbs into circulation as I pirouette toward it.
So we're having a dance-off.
Or this has become Iron Chef, but because there's no metal in this universe, it's just Flesh Chef.
Yeah,
Bone
Bone
Chef,
Chef.
I think is what we're looking at here. My vision is that its Cuisinart blades are spinning more or less vertically, and my hatchet limbs are rotating around my center axis more or less horizontally. And man, whatever happens, happens.
Beyblades.
Beyblades. High velocity Beyblades. You succeed, certainly, in intimidating it. It slows a bit. However, your hit itself is not successful. Its Cuisinart slices through one of your limbs. Not, mortally or anything like that. You don't lose the limb. However, it's going to make it a little more difficult to move gracefully. You now take a status where you roll with disadvantage, specifically if and only if you're trying to look cool while doing an action.
Good deal.
Oh, that is cruel.
Yeah, here's my question. I do have the mech trait good at knives. Once per brawl, ignore a hit caused by melee weapons. Does that apply in this case?
It absolutely does, and I actually told you more than I should have about what would happen if you didn't use it, so you're welcome to use it.
This says ignore a hit caused by melee weapons by describing how you fend it off like a Ninja Turtle. So I think
You must describe.
Yeah, I see at the very last moment that this is going to, I'm going to come out the worst for this. And all at once, I pull all of my limbs in and, as the conservation of angular momentum dictates, start spinning much faster as I move underneath its Cuisinart blades and kind of off to one side. Where I can hopefully rally and do a better job next time.
You had a vivid mental picture of not looking cool in front of Olivia, and instead you have looked extremely cool. You breathe a sigh of infinite relief. You look like a fucking Ninja Turtle.
I picked the specific avoidance tactic because it's the sort of thing that a Ninja Turtle would do by spinning on their shell. So, the fact that it managed to look cool is a huge relief.
All shall be well, and all shall be well. Bill.
All right, so we've got Grievous coming out of the conference center. We've got Timmy down the well. We've got the one teetering on the well now smashed against its side.
There's the two that are entangled still.
The two that are entangled, and then there's whatever just happened to Robert. But that's not visually evident at this time.
Right. So I'm going to yeet myself around the corner in a spatter of tubes grasping at the ground for traction. Just imagine, there is weird physics of this sort of orb center of the mech careening around the corner.
Okay, yes.
What do I see?
You see Robert being swung about by the largest and fleshiest crab you have ever laid eyes on. There are, in fact, two crabs, the other of which Andrew is currently on top of, attempting somehow to deal with. He's riding. He's doing pretty well. He's holding his own and smashing at its carapace. You suddenly realize that these crabs have almost beady, weaselish features at the center of their little crab faces. And all of a sudden you remember the two weasel fash who fled into the sea. Viz made reference earlier to carcinization. And I should note that in Meat World, this can happen in a matter of hours. In this case, they've had 2 weeks. They are extremely crabs.
Extremely crabs, nice.
Robert seems stunned. He's not doing as well as Andrew is at fighting the thing, but you've got two. And when I say large, probably twice as big as your mech, each of these crabs.
Sure.
They're big boys. They would be delicious.
Sure. Nice.
You can't help but think.
Right. So would it be a move to tell the crab holding Robert glowing teeth-like, to let him down gently and release him with the full force of my impressed authority upon it.
Yeah, there's nothing.
And if so, what should I roll?
Yeah, no, these are all very good questions. So glow teeth, the rulebook does not actually specify whether this works on non-human things. So just how crab they are could potentially be relevant. But I tell you what, let's have you roll Have It Out. I don't think this is a move we've used so far. When you confront someone about a difficult subject, roll plus awkward for NPCs. So you are going to essentially attempt to negotiate with.
Does
glow
this
teeth.
substitute to nerve for being enmeched?
Yes.
No,
actually, excuse me. It doesn't actually, because awkward is awkward. The flesh can only do so much, as the rulebook says. So yeah, this is going to be plus awkward, and this will determine whether you're able to communicate with this thing that perhaps should not normally be able to be communicated with in such a way.
Okay. So I rolled a 7, and that becomes an 8.
Well done. So you get to hold 2. So for NPCs, these are things like you get advantage on your next roll against them. They get sad, emotional, angry, or whatever, and go away for a bit. Or if you wish to spend both holds, they really consider your words, and they're more likely to fully change their behavior.
I will spend both of my holds.
The crab, the frontal crab, the crab that you're speaking to that's holding Robert, stops dead. Robert kind of plomps onto the sands, we'll say we're not quite on the beach, but the sandy ground, still smoking, by the way, but a bit less, and looking only a bit worse for the wear. The crab looks you full in the face. Crab eyes regard you. Weasel eyes between the crab eyes regard you. And although there's no way it could be speaking, you hear in your head, "Peace? Friend?" It does not elaborate further, but it does gingerly put Robert down and begin, crab-like, to move slowly away, then slowly toward you, then slowly away.
They can only move sideways.
I will respond. I will respond.
You're right.
With...
Wait, hold on. I fucked that up. It can't move away precisely, but it starts moving stage left, stage right.
That wasn't a correction. I thought that was an explanation for why I was kind of going back and forth, because it's like the car reversing a 3-point turn almost.
You're exactly right. I wasn't sure if it read, but that's the idea. It's making a 96-point turn in crab form. I should note as well that in the background of all of this, Andrew is dramatically fighting another crab.
I will then say, we have no quarrel with you if you abandon any quarrel with us. Go in peace, friend. All beglow-teethed, but I won't force a move on that one.
You're sure for a moment that the crab eyes glow as well. The crab crabs over to the other crab, which Andrew is still fighting. This crab nonchalantly knocks Andrew off of the other crab. Andrew goes flying. The two crabs regard each other for a moment. They bubble at each other. If you ever looked closely at a crab's mouth, it's just alive with bubbles. They communicate in a bubblish fashion at one another. You're not sure what they're saying since they're crabs. But, strangely, uncrabbishly, they hold claws and they go back into the water. For now. You're not sure where Andrew went. He didn't quite ding over the horizon like a Smash Brothers knockout, but he did go flying a fair way.
Over the ocean?
Incredible.
You're not sure.
This seems relevant now that carcinization can happen.
In a matter of hours.
Yeah.
Not seconds, at least not in any way you've heard of. It really depends from what you've read, if you've read about it or if you've listened to radio serials on the topic, on how much you're thinking about crabs when you hit the water. In this case, he'd probably be thinking about them kind of a lot.
It's marvelously unsettling.
So,
I'm just
meanwhile,
delighted.
back at the ranch. So Olivia and Kay are rounding on the two that are tussling, and they are seeing if they can attack one or both without necessarily stopping them from attacking each other. They've sort of spent what we'll call a turn running across the battlefield. To do so, they're now alighting on those two. Viz is still standing at the hole, having confronted death, stared it straight in the face, and told it, none for me today, thanks, but quite a bit for you. And Rad, you are still sort of squared up with Cuisinart, bone person.
Well, I
Cuisinart
think
bone person, I believe, does sort of get a turn at this point.
Sure, yeah.
So Cuisinart bone person, as I am now verbosely calling them, spins up to full speed, liquefying speed, and dives at you. If you don't have some way to get out of the way, then this is going to be a get hurt roll.
Well, let me double check that because, boy, it has been a minute. I've already used my good at knives for this brawl.
So you can't Ninja Turtle your way out of this one outright.
Right. Yeah, I think I pretty much just have to roll take a hit.
It is, in fact, plus Viscera.
Plus Viscera is +1. I just rolled 2 6s for a 13 on take a hit.
Well, goddamn. So there isn't anything described in the rulebook for massive ultra success. I assume you just want to look extremely cool. What's important is that on a +10, you choose to brush it off, and you need to tell me how you escaped injury. Or you can still take a hit, but roll with advantage on your next move. It is your decision.
Given the way I have been rolling, I think I am going to avoid the status entirely. And if I am having to describe it, I think so. I spun away and kind of a crouch with my arm legs, 3 of them kind of pulled in. Let's say in the interim, I've put one of them back down on the ground in sort of like a, Spider-Man hero stance. So when Cuisinart comes at me, I will sort of use the 2 remaining hatchet limbs to kind of knock each blade out to the side so that they slam down into the ground on either side of me.
Indeed, you look extremely cool doing it. You feel one more wave from Olivia. We will discuss catching feelings perhaps in just a moment, but you avoid damage, and this thing is relatively stunned. Kay and Olivia, for their part, have sort of extricated the owl from the other weasel, and have begun sort of beating up on the latter. The owl is sort of helping, honestly, beating up what it still thinks is Viz. So they're in a big pile. And Cuisinart is open to an additional attack. Bill, of course, is not here at the moment since he was just détaunting with crabs.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that Viz's clicky nerves give them precedence here.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. I will, in fact, smash the Cuisinart blender like the obsolete kitchen appliance that it is.
Very good. I'll take a smash roll from you then.
Okay. So I believe
that is plus Viscera instead of plus Corpus due to your whole. I mean, if you want to describe it again, I'm by no means gonna stop.
So due to my yuck guts, the big bone has shrapnel in it. I'm rolling with an advantage on smash and also using Viscera instead of Corpus.
Your delight in this delights me more than I can.
You set me up for it every time. It makes me happy. So that's gonna be a 9 because I got a 4 and a 3, and then Viscera is +2, and I removed the lower of the 2 die, which was like a lowly 2.
Well, tell me what you do then. So you could set up an opportunity for somebody. You could not get hit, smash something inanimate the fuck up. Any 2 of those things.
I prefer not get hit. Because
that's valid.
Unlike
those are blades. That's fair.
Yeah. It's a spinning whirlwind.
Yeah.
This meat mech of mine will not blend. In fact.
It will not blend. Fair enough. You get a hit. While the blades are splayed, you smash this thing full in the face. Oh, it does have a face. The face is made of smaller, duller blades, and it is in among the blades that usually spin. It too is bone. You hear a very satisfying crunch as you connect. I should have said the brawl counter was at +2. It is now at +3.
Excellent.
You avoid all the sharpest bits and take no further hits.
I was going to say, if I can make a move now, I may try to finish Cuisinart with our +3 brawl counter, since that's as high as it goes.
Roll finish them.
I would
Finish
love
'em.
to. That's a 7 + 3 is a 10.
7 + 3 is a 10. All right, then. So that means you succeed. You don't pivot straight into another attack, but you do kill this fucker. So describe to me how you kill this fucker.
All right, so having, kind of deflected its blows out and watched Viz's blow connect, I'm going to imagine that it maybe kind of careens to one side, and my outstretched leg continues its rotation until it is down, and then I simply hatchet limit until it is hamburger.
My God. There is a genuinely upsetting pile of hamburger and bone, which is not doesn't make for a good burger, generally speaking, laid before you, sprayed back toward the convention center as though it has emerged from the hole. A bit does in fact drip in to the hole.
The blender does, in fact, blend.
Who blends the blender? So we are down to 2, and they are down to begging. The owl is deeply confused, actually manages to catch a sight of the genuine Viz and just looks back and forth desperately, is already pretty beat up and fucked up. The other one gets to truly begging, saying, look, you came here and we were just fucking man. We just wanted to wait until he showed up. And he never showed up. It got so hard just waiting. We just want him to like us.
I ask my life coach what the difference between my waiting and their waiting is.
Your waiting has a function, a noble function. Your waiting is for waiting. Ours, together, no identity, is to transcend. Theirs is for the approval of an external, if I may, daddy. They do not wish to transcend, but only to, forgive me, please daddy.
We need no sugar. Or daddy.
Indeed not.
Incredible.
We're making art here. So they essentially use their move to beg. It is up to you whether you speak or do not speak. However, I should note that as they say this, there is a bit of a rumble on the horizon.
Near the ocean?
Specifically, no, the ocean seems to just be the ocean. We haven't found Andrew yet, but we haven't confirmed that anything's wrong either. No, this would be from the east. This is the main road. It sounds like whatever's coming, it's a lot of it. Do you hear this thing's pleas, or do you continue a killing? That seems to be your big decision at the moment. It is fully weeping.
Upon noticing that the owl is looking back and forth, I point at the thing that is pleading.
The owl's eyes go wide, and it Prometheuses the other thing. Just tears out extremely important bits as it begs.
I appreciate the
Excellent.
verbing of Prometheus.
Yes.
One must imagine Prometheus a verb. Okay. The owl, after it finishes Prometheusing, looks at you like Saturn having devoured its child, as long as we're laying this on. But then takes a moment and takes to the sky as it still can, albeit with its wings somewhat broken, and looks toward where the rumbling is coming from. It looks down at you, and in a strange, shrill owl voice, it says, "He's here." And that's where we'll end our session.
Delightful.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Dice Punks. You can find us on the wider web pretty much wherever podcasts can be found. We're also on co-host if you want general updates. I would also mention that you should totally check out the Extreme Meatpunks Forever system if this at all sounded like your jam, because it's an extremely good system. And if you would like to hear Heather Flowers and Belle talk about it, I interviewed them on my other show, Everybody's Talking at Once, a while ago. Everything that they make rules, and they are delights. So thank you a whole lot for listening to this show. Players, say so long to the good folks at home.
Yeah, so long for now. We'll certainly meet again. I'm not sorry.
We appreciate you listening, and this is just a friendly reminder that therapy is for everyone. Your daddy issues serve no one.
Shit, yeah.
Thanks for listening, folks, and do your waiting for your own purposes. Daddy needn't factor into it.
Co-signed. And as the poet once said, hold tight the ones that you love, the ones that you love, the ones that you love. They'll try to take them from us, take them from us, take them from us. We'll tell the angels above that God and the devil are on the same side. Our friends no longer with us will, with our love, return to the sky.
Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in, and stick around through the admin stuff for wisdom from Viz's life coach. The songs in this episode, Mastita and the acoustic version of Theme of the Dice Punks, were written and recorded by the game meatster himself, Drew. Cover art and editing are by Joanne, who has appeared on the podcast now and again. Check out her work around the internet, where she goes by Anything Sows. Site design and graphics for dicepunks.com are by Robin, the player behind Viz, the Carmine Bright Child. Extreme Meatpunks Forever is by Heather Flowers and Belle and can be purchased at meatpunksrpg.com. Give it some thought. We certainly have fun with it. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, that's reward enough on its own, but if you're so inclined, you can help us out by rating and reviewing us wherever you listen to us, telling your friends who you think you would like us to give us a listen, and even by heading over to our Patreon at patreon.com/dicepunks. We have fun rewards available to backers, including a patron-only Discord and access to the Dice Peaks after show for episodes 1 and following. As we're at a rare opportunity for new listeners to jump on board with the current episodes, anything you can do to spread the word to anyone who might enjoy our stuff helps immensely. Regardless, we hope you'll tune in again, and until then remember, subtlety is for cowards, so be gay, pilot mechs, and kill Nazis.
Consider the rat wolf, which shares a consciousness in common with its pack. There is, in this sense, no such thing as one rat wolf. Similarly, then, there is no such thing as two people. But there is also no such thing as one person. In strictly practical terms, however, 0 people is a possibility.